All right, guys. So today we're going to continue on with Unit 5. We're going to actually be doing it for the next 2 weeks, and then the week after that, we're going to just be doing star review. Star review, because the star is coming up. Okay.
Wait, why did it look like a mock star?
Huh?
I thought they were supposed to be like mock star. A mock star? or
Is that only a
actual
middle school
star?
thing?
That's only in middle school.
Big flat
See, we didn't get this
It's just
because
a
we didn't do
star.
the star last year, so.
Okay, but what's going to happen is I'm going to actually, so starting that week, you guys take it on the 8th, which is a Thursday, April 8th. That whole week, I'm going to be preparing you for. I'm going to give you strategies. I'm going to show you what it looks like, the layout, everything like that, so that you guys have a good idea. And then as long as you do the writing, and we're going to recap on the writing too, to make sure you guys have a good understanding of what that looks like. So, but yeah, no mock stars. He gives mock stars. I don't really give mock stars unless you guys want one.
No.
Okay, good, because
It was a requirement.
I'm not trying to bore you to death before the test. That's gonna be hard enough. So basically what we're gonna be doing these next 2 weeks is, we're gonna be doing this comic book, which is a Spider-Man comic book. Then we're gonna be doing Miss Marvel next week. You guys will take the star. And then I hate to tell you guys, but when that week's over, that next week is the end of this unit. So you guys have to see late that week as well. Yeah, I know, I'm sorry. But you also have a project that I think you guys might enjoy, but even if you don't enjoy it, it's not gonna be too big, but it's gonna be a big summative grade, okay? So, any questions about what was on stuff yesterday? Like with the video and the reflections and stuff?
Why did I have to write a whole paragraph on one sentence that's can't be said?
Because I'm trying to get you to think critically. And that's what the world's gonna ask you to do.
Well, he did.
It is a good trait to be able to elaborate, right? So a lot of times people are gonna ask you to do things and it has to meet a certain minimum requirement and you have to figure out how to get to that. So it's also kind of trying to get you to think outside the box and to think critically about it. Most of you did a really good job. If you did not hit the limit, you did not get the full point. I either gave you like a 0.9 or 0.75. You got a 0.75 of it if it was below 100 words. So, but I will reopen it and allow you to go back in and fix it if you want to earn the rest of the points. Okay. So, what did you think about his video?
Ooh, I guess. Like the one of Stan Lee? Or
Yeah, the one
other
of Stan Lee.
Yeah.
You liked it?
And then I got sad because 2 years after that, he passed away.
He did pass away, but he lived a pretty full life. And I mean, that instance that he talks about with Spider-Man, if you actually go and look at some of the movies that document his life, that was one of many moments like that in his life. There was many times where actually Marvel was about to crash and burn, and he figured out ways to save it. So that is definitely something. And then the way that he did look at Marvel, he was very adamant that Marvel be a representation of what he looked outside the window at the world. And then he started reflecting and saying, but it also needs to represent looking in the mirror. So that's kind of why I wanted to do comic books. A lot of people trash comic books and say it's not good reading, but just like the graphic novel, you learn a lot of inferencing and things like that with comic books and stuff. And it kind of ties you and lets you know what the trends are, right, of the nation. So let me let Senor Nathaniel in. Okay. So today what we're going to do is we're going to strengthen our inferencing and comprehension skills by reading Spider-Man, the Miles Morales one. And to participate in class discussion over various literary aspects of the text and to share inferences and predictions about the text. We're only going to be reading the first 4 volumes. So it's about 20 pages per day. But again, those 20 pages are like the graphic novel, 20 pages. Except this one does have a little bit more writing, and you'll see what that looks like. So we're going to be doing volume 1. And I'm hoping that the way that I set it up this time, it made it easier for you. It makes it easier for you guys to read. Hopefully, possibly. So it is the Miles Morales, the Ultimate Spider-Man. I got it from the collector's edition which apparently is only digital because when I tried to actually order the book itself is like 40 something dollars.
Yeah, I've seen like one in the library.
Yeah, I was like, I love my students, but you know, that's kind of expensive for me.
That's how much I think my God, it's Simons.
Yeah.
It's like, it's only like this thick.
It's nothing compared to the first edition that Superman showed up in. It's like $2 million font.
Okay. And in reality, also with the way that I have the pages set up, there is going to be like images in between them. So technically it's not a full 20 pages.
So it's like the readings on the one side and then there's just a full picture on the other.
Yeah. So can you guys see that? I'm going to be reading it to you. So, you know. So we have a spider and it says, you a fan of Greek mythology, Dr. Marius, Dr. Marcus, and he says, I'm not a fan, I'm Mr. Osborne. And he says, ever hear of the myth of Arcane? No, it says Arcane.
Is that Arcanine?
We're just gonna go with that pronunciation because that's what Miss Garcia feels. Okay, so it says, and then this is 11 months ago. Okay, so what do we call this? Remember? What is this?
Flashback.
Those are the notes, right? The like narration notes. What are these?
Speech bubble.
Speech bubbles. Okay. How do we read graphic novels or graphic novels and comic books? Left to right, unless it's a manga, right? Okay. So then it says the story goes that Athena, you know Athena, right? Since she heard there was a woman on earth, a mere mortal like you and me. And he's like, like you, what happened? What happened to be a better spinstress? Who happened to be a better spinstress than Athena? Athena was a spinstress, a weaver. So you know why they call it a spinstress, right?
No.
Because there was like this loom, and it would spin, and they'd feed it. Like you press on it, and kind of like a Sleeping Beauty.
Well, I don't think it was
Rumpelstiltskin.
Yeah.
Rumpelstiltskin. Yes.
But that means it is a rack, because spiders, they
It's
spin.
arachnid.
spool.
Yeah, arachne.
So
Yeah.
it is a rack.
Yeah. So okay. And then he says Athena wasn't happy to hear this at all. So she came down to earth and destroyed the woman's creations. When this mortal lady saw what happened, that she had insulted the gods and her life's work had all but been destroyed, she killed herself. So, you know, all happies and sunshine, rainbows. And then he says, but then Athena took pity on the poor girl. Athena came down and touched her on the forehead with a magic reviving liquid and said, so what does he have in his hand first?
Spider.
A spider. What kind of spider?
Probably a
42.
42 spider. Okay. And so she said, you shall not die today, Arachnid. You are a great spinstress, and you shall be transformed so you can weave your web forever. At Athena's words, Arachnid shrank and blackened. First her nose and ears fell off, and then her fingers turned to legs, and what was left of her became her body, and she was left to spin her web. The woman turned into a beautiful spider. Now I need you to be Athena. And the guy says, I'm sorry. So what does this mean that it has a 42? What can we infer from that? Jesus, an
Well, it
experiment.
does say it at the top of
Yes, so it is an experiment, yes. So what vibes are we getting from this guy?
it.
Bad vibes, right? Definite villain vibes.
Dr. Osborne, I think.
Yes, Dr. Osborne,
Green
yes.
Goblin.
Yep, oh, good, thank you. Yes, Green Goblin,
It was cool. Man. I like it.
Right.
You didn't see the first Spider-Man?
okay, but see, okay, so again, it's assuming, right, that people who have read this, right now, it's assuming that you might know who Dr. Osborne is, right? But if you've never picked up a Spider-Man before, or you've never watched a Spider-Man movie,
That was the
Would you-
shadiest thing I've ever come out of your mouth. Like, you're trying to let it be shady, but then you're like, or if you never watched the Spider-Man movie.
I'm just
like, okay,
saying,
Miss Garfield.
I wanted to say, or you've been living under a rock, but I was trying to be nice, but whatever. It is what it is.
So-
I throw no shade, I
That
throw no
movie-
shade.
That movie is a
You
villain
don't know
called Green
that's-
Goblin, and then that dude's son becomes Venom in the comics, right?
Yeah.
Or
So,
the movie,
okay,
the movie.
this one I kind of, so I did have to kind of manipulate some of the pages a little bit, because even it was too small for me, so I wrote the stuff here on the top,
I mean,
okay?
ants could move
But
that
I kind of
quick.
went in order. So it says, because you were kind enough to sign all of my non-disclosure agreements, and because you were curious enough to come here and pursue your very specific line of scientific expertise, you will now learn one of the great secrets of the scientific community. Okay, so what is this? What is he doing?
He's like
What?
making them feel good about themselves.
Well, he's kind of closing in on him, right? Like, I've got you now, I've got you. You're curious, you want to know something, I'm about to give you important information. So he's kind of making him feel like you want to be here, right? Okay, then he says, I created Spider-Man.
Whoa.
One of our original test subject spiders was genetically altered using an earlier version of my super soldier Oz formula. That spider bit a young man, and that young man not only survived, but was given proportionate strength and abilities of that spider. What does proportionate mean?
So like if an ant can live 2 times its size, but the ant weighs that,
Yeah, so it's within proportion. So he's providing what? What is this?
background.
What background? He's providing context just in case you've never heard of Spider-Man, right? So he's letting you know, and even if you had heard of Spider-Man, maybe you didn't know how Spider-Man came to be, right?
First Spider-Man.
And then he says, you heard me. And the guy says, and you don't know, wow, you don't know the specifications of the spider. So the guy's not really interested in Spider-Man, right? The guy's interested in the spider itself. So that tells you he's more what?
You know exactly.
Well, he's more scientific, right? Like, he's like, I really don't care what about Spider-Man. I want to know what happened with the spider, right?
Yeah, but Spider-Man is like a genetic, like
You think-
scientific breakthrough. and he's
Yeah,
like,
so you would think
"Nah."
like, right? And then the guy says, no, it died. Do you have a log of measurements of the formula that altered the spider? I thought I did, but no. Can we get blood samples of the boy? We have them. And you weren't able to reverse calculate the, no. Okay? So on his face here, what do you think he's doing? Like, what,
He's scared.
is he scared?
He's like,
He's kind of more like
oh, no.
kind of concerned, but then like, right?
He just has one of those RBFs.
Maybe. Okay. Then it says, but now we have you. And now I know why you were so crazy to buy out my contract from Roxanne Corporation. So obviously he sought this guy out, right? He wants this guy. This guy has some knowledge that he needs. And he says, you're the expert in the field, Dr. Marcus. Actually, Otto Octavius is the real expert in the, we don't talk about that man in this laboratory. Who is Octavius?
Dr. Octopus.
Dr.
Ah, you are
Octopus.
such a
There you
nerd.
go. Yes.
No.
Who is another villain of Spider-Man? Okay. So they're making what? What type of literary device is being used? It's hinting at something else that they think,
Foreshadowing.
not necessarily foreshadowing. They're hinting at something they think you should know.
That he's a villain.
It's an illusion. Remember, illusions are hints to other things
Oh.
that you know, okay? So he says, you created Spider-Man. And he says, I hope you understand that this information, if this information leaves this building, I will kill you. And he says, excuse me? So look at his face. Does he even look like he's
Nah,
I mean, he's just made to be a villain, is he
I
not?
mean, he even has the green tie. It's even-
Yeah.
It's
got
even
that
telling.
weird nose.
Nice, and
Villains always have weird.
yes.
Chiseled jawline.
This is true, right? They do that.
And
a lot.
chiseled jawline.
Right. And then the eyebrows, the way the
Yeah.
eyebrows
His
are.
that man's like flat out. His nose is a triangle.
And then he says, excuse me. So he's basically just threatened his life, yes?
Mhm.
And he's kind of like, excuse me? And he says, I said, I will beat you to death with my bare hands. You have 4 doctorates, which one of those words do you not understand? So again, it's closing in on his face to reinforce that he's very sinister,
The
right?
Smile.
Yeah,
that's
Yeah, right, the
crazy.
smile.
I was scared.
And then he grabs him and he says, but if you solve the problem for me, I will reward you to the point where I reinvent your life on every conceivable level. So what does that tell you about this character?
He's very rich.
He's rich, he has the means, right? He has the money.
You're gonna find out later. Thomas has a lot of issues with the teacher.
He might. Okay.
Is it still bad though?
How would you guys have reacted if that is what happened to you?
We're like,
I'd probably
Enjoy my life.
do something in my pants.
Right? So now there's no words, right? So you have him looking at the spider here, and he's trying to think, he's researching, there's numbers. You see all the numbers?
Yes.
Okay, so it's coming back to number 42.
41.
What do we see right there?
A spider.
spider.
Spider, then it closes in another spider. What spider is it?
42.
42. And then again, right? Where's the spider? Do we know?
No,
Yeah.
probably
Left.
behind the box.
He did.
He dipped out. He's like, I'm out.
In the
No more
pocket.
experiments.
In that guy's pockets.
All right, so then this is
What did I say, bro?
a news clipping. Right, so just in case you didn't know who Dr. Osborne is, who is he? The Green Goblin, right? And this is the Daily Bugle.
J.
Which
Jonah
is-
Jameson.
So this is the news, like a newspaper, right?
Yeah.
And it says controversial industrialist is revealed to be genetically altered monster now in the custody of SHIELD.
Oh.
SHIELD? What is SHIELD?
Super,
Shield.
I forgot after that.
Yeah, but what
It's a
it basi-
government, it's a government agency.
it's a government agency that tends to deal with superheroes and mutants
Oh.
and villains, yeah, and their villains, right? So, and SHIELD actually spans across the Marvel universe, right? That's not just localized to
It's like
Spider-Man.
just about everybody.
And then it says, reporting by Frederick Boswell, it says agents of the World Peacekeeping Task Force SHIELD have confirmed to the Daily Bugle that controversial industrialist Norman Osborn had infected his own body with one of his experiments, altering himself into one of our SHIELD sources are. Hold on. Okay, referring to him as the Green Goblin. Sources also confirmed that this Green Goblin is the same one that attacked Midtown High School a few months ago, shutting the school down for weeks. It is also referred to as the public debut of the mystery man called Spider-Man. Whether or not there is a connection between Spider-Man and Norman Osborn's double life has yet to be revealed. Speculation continues as to why Norman Osborn would break one of the cardinal rules of science by experimenting on himself. Sources close to Norman say that certain pressures to create a workable version of his experimental super soldier formula led him to use the formula on himself. So what have we learned?
I don't know anything.
You didn't learn that? Well, you, because you already know Spider-Man.
Yeah.
What did we learn? What kind of scientist was he?
Mad scientist.
No,
Was he
genetic.
an ethical one? No, he didn't follow the rules, right? He was willing to break the rules and experiment on himself. Yeah. So why do we think he attacked a high school? Why would he attack a high school?
Because Spider-Man is at the high school.
The original Spider-Man is
They-
also a
They
teenager.
took a
yes?
tour at the thing, and then he figured it out. And
Yes.
he killed all
So-
the kids.
But SHIELD does not seem to know that at this moment, right? That Spider-Man is a teenager, Peter Parker, right? Peter Parker.
Imagine.
Technically, this movie.
No.
Actually,
Actually.
No.
Actually-
Wait a minute.
Hold on.
Spoilers.
Two different spiders.
Spoilers.
I want to.
okay, so now here's a pretty dark setting. It's kind of abandoned, right? Because what do we think actually happens to all of Osborn's stuff?
Probably gets stolen by S.H.I.E.L.D.
The guy-
or-
Stolen by SHIELD gets abandoned, right? So they show the top part and then it shows somebody climbing and then he breaks into the lab that we
Yo,
saw.
How long ago did he get arrested? It's already like rusted over.
Yeah.
Jesus.
And so it's obviously, because remember it was at least 18 months, right?
Yeah.
And so The guy turns on his lights and what does he find?
A spider.
A spider,
Why
right?
does he look, why does he got that, is that a Spider-Man costume?
Is that what's his
No,
name?
it's actually, it's like this weird costume, but it has like these lights on it.
Is it like, yo, is it like Taskmaster?
I have an idea who that, okay, is it gray and black? Or is that like more like a dark blue?
Because I thought he had like.
I think it's
different
almost
suits.
like-
It's like a stealth
yeah.
suit. It's
So
like-
we're about to find out, I guess. Well, we will find out, I guess. So then he's searching around again,
It's a baby. face.
Right? and then he's at a safe, and he opens it, and what's in the safe?
Money.
At all,
Oh.
right?
Netto.
But he also sees like a red box, and so he takes that.
It's like a ring.
So what do we think about the mask?
Oh, someone.
That's the
Too
guy.
tight.
It's too tiny.
Did you see his mouth?
Yeah,
I think it's too tight. That dude must be.
I thought it was
breathing
just a
harder than-
different, like, I thought it was like a stealth suit. That's why
Yeah.
it's black and gray.
so then there's the bag, and I know it's hard to see, but right here's the spider.
Does he get bit by the spider?
So what do we think is gonna happen?
He's gonna, it's gonna hide.
He's gonna get bit by the spider?
I thought
Okay.
it's gonna get hot, it's gonna get hidden in the bag, and he's gonna swing, and it's gonna fall out.
So the spider is being transported at this point, right?
Yo.
And then it shows him taking off. So it might be him, it might be somebody else, right?
I don't know who he is. I'm not sure if he has powers or he's like.
Just a good, like, stealth.
I guess we'll find out. So now we switch and it says Brooklyn, New York. And this person says, this is a circus. Stay focused, honey. I am focused. It's just a damn circus. You're making Miles nervous. Right, so now we're being introduced to a family and it has switched, right? It went from a scientific lab and villains to now it's everyday people, right? And the kid says, I'm fine. How old do we think this kid is?
13.
Five.
Yeah, about 5.
The way he's, yeah,
He's a
the way he's
young
so
teen.
short to his teeth
Yeah.
is very.
Right? That is kind of, yeah. And it says, that would have been Miss Garcia, so her parents.
And like his dad in the comic books is like 6'6", and he's
Oh.
like 5 foot tall.
So it says, she says, Miles, baby, no matter what happens today, this is not a reflection on you. I know. This has nothing to do with you as a person. There are only 40 some spots available in this charter school. And there are what, 700 applicants from our neighborhood. I know. You just need to stop and think about that. It's just, this is a lottery. So who seems more concerned? The mom, right? And what are they trying to get him into? A charter school, which indicates that maybe the schools in his neighborhood are not what?
Very good.
Very good.
He lived in the-
And so 700 applicants for 40 spots, okay? And she says, I know, he says, I know what a lottery is. She's like, but it has nothing to do with you. Please make this stop, Dad. So obviously the mom is like, I don't want his feelings to get hurt, right? But who's more invested in it? The mom, right? The mom is much more invested. So then,
Yeah.
and then it says middle school. Do you see it? It says middle school. So now we know he's a middle schooler. He's not even a high schooler, right? He's a middle schooler. And it says, how long have you lived? He says, how long have you lived in our house since birth? And have I ever been able to make this stop?
No.
I thought just this once. Let's just get this foolishness over with. So how does the dad feel about it?
He's like, oh, great.
He's not as invested in the lottery as the mom is, right? The dad
The
thinks
dad's
it,
been like, I survived middle school at the schools that we had. in our neighborhood.
Right.
I don't understand.
he's like, I'm all hardcore. Why do you gotta go to a special school? Okay, so then we see an auditorium filled, right?
literal lottery.
And then,
Oh, it is too.
yeah,
That's sad.
and then the person doing at the table says, there are only 3 seats left to the Brooklyn Visions Academy. Please, if everyone could stay seated, we would get through this quicker. The next name is Katie Hogg. Katie Hogg. And the dad says, can we go? Can we go now? And the mom says, stop it. What does she look like right now?
She's like really upset.
She's upset. And he's like, the world's gone insane. Because the person that got called says, yes, oh God, yes,
I
oh
think
God.
that's the mom of the kid, because if they're in like 6th grade,
Yeah,
because they have to be in 6th grade to get into the middle school.
yeah.
So, like,
42.
the mom
Okay.
is freaking, oh, that's crazy.
And then it says, Andy Landon, insane, waste of a day. And she says, please stop. So obviously the parents are not on the same page, right? It indicates that the mom values it. Why do you think she wants him to go to a different school so bad?
Good education.
Get a good
career,
education, right?
future.
Career. But the dad is kind of like, how do we feel like he's thinking?
Well, I think he's a militaristic, like,
Yeah, very militaristic. The world's gone insane. He's very grouchy, grumpy kind of guy, right? So then it shows this the ball spin and it says 42. And you guys notice that because what else was 42?
the spider.
The spider,
Or the experiment.
right? So now what is it kind of doing? It's dropping, it's foreshadowing, it's dropping little hints, right? So here's the dad.
She's praying.
Miles is kind of like, whatever. And the mom's like, please, right? And so we do know that Miles is Afro-Latino, right?
Yes.
So we can assume that his mom is probably the Latino, right? And she's praying, right? She's probably,
She's out of Dominican.
I think she's Puerto Rican.
I think she's Puerto,
I think she's because
In the game, she was Puerto Rican.
we'll have to find out. Maybe we'll have to find out, right? And so what religion do we think that most Latinos are? What is it, the stereotype? What religion are most
Christian religion.
Catholic, right? So the praying, right?
Mexican Catholic.
You're an idiot. You got like 2 brain cells and that.
All right, then it says, so here's the thing. What do we know that the family doesn't know?
That he's gonna get
He's
picked.
gonna get picked, right? We know that. When you know something that the characters don't know, what is that called?
Oh, crap. It's like when the dude's in the closet and they're about to
Yeah.
open it.
What kind of irony?
Dramatic irony?
Dramatic irony, remember? I know something you don't know, right? So, and it says Miles Morales, and then the dad says, get out of town. And he has kind of like a smirk. And she says, oh my God, oh, you have a chance. Oh my God, you have a chance. So that indicates that she feels that the situation was dire, right? She thought that the school that he was at was pretty dire. And the way the dad reacts kind of gives you the hint that maybe he wanted it too, but was just kind of putting on that.
It's one of those things where like, maybe if I don't want it, it'll happen.
Maybe if I- yeah. And so then does Miles look excited? No. Well, what about these other people? Why is it showing us these other students?
Because they're crying because they didn't make it.
So that means he doesn't seem like he wanted it,
But
but
they really
these two
did.
did, right? These other, so he has something that other kids wanted. And then she says, it's all happening. And he says, it shouldn't. All these other kids, should it be like this? And she says, just focus on you. You got in, focus on that. So who's he thinking about? Other people, right? And she's saying, focus on you. Why is that an important statement for him?
What happened?
Why is that a very telling statement about him? It's what of all these other people, like all these other kids, he actually cares about other people. So what quality do you kind of sort of need to be a hero? Yeah,
Conviction.
in the end, you kind of do have to be selfless. You have to care. And that's showing that he does. And then the dad says, you get to pick dinner, kid. So now the dad's completely flipped. He completely flipped. I'm gonna pretend I didn't hear that, Karen. So now the kid is in a dingy hallway and it says knock knock. What do we call these? They're onomatopoeias, but in literature, they're called what kind of effects? Sound effects in comics and graphic novels. And he says, Uncle Aaron, it's Miles. And he goes, hold on. And he says, there he is, my man. Get in here, boy. He says, hey, Uncle Aaron. And then what does this indicate? The way he's looking out the hallway.
Oh, or he's not a very nice person, or he doesn't know very nice people.
Well, yeah, he's kind of like looking to see like, is anybody out there, right? Okay. Oh, I guess we'll find out. And so then, because what do we see here? You see that? What is that? Can you guys see it?
He's ignoring.
It's a duffel bag.
He's not very-
Hey, guys.
Okay, and he says, "How's your mom?" "She's happy today." "Why is that?" "I got into that charter school." That's damn good news. "I didn't do anything though. It was just a lottery." No, you got your ticket out of this cesspool. You play your cards right. You make your own way. Your dad and me didn't have a chance in that school we went to. He says, "You did okay." And he's like, "Listen to me." So what now do we know about the dad and the uncle? Did they have an easy life? No, right? And he calls it a cesspool. What's a cesspool?
That's a good question.
Like, is it like garbage?
Yeah, it's garbage. It's like it's trash and
Oh, shit.
everything.
True.
So now it shows them standing there and he says, "We had to fight. Boys shouldn't have to fight the way we had to. You shouldn't have to see half the stuff we did. You learn, you study, and you make the world the way you want it to be, not the way it is." So what do they want for him? Everybody seems to want something for him. What do they want? Make it
Yeah.
like a better life, right? And what way do they see out?
Education.
Education, right? And so does Miles look like he's too convinced or happy?
No.
And he says, "You make it. Don't let people make it for you." And then he says, this is good time. This is a good thing. This calls for popsicles." And he's like, "Yeah." And he says, "Right." And he's like, your daddy's going to be something to pay for it." I don't know what that says. Okay. But how is Miles, through this whole thing, how is Miles seem? Does he seem too enthused in life? No, right? So do you see what's sitting next to him?
The duffel bag.
The duffel
Oh, it's
bag.
the dude that robbed
What did I
the
say?
place.
What did I
He
say?
wasn't the son.
He
He's the
says-
guy that robbed
Oh,
the money.
he's-
That's literally what I just said.
so up here, he's saying, "Are they gonna make your dad pay for it?" And Miles says, "I don't know, I guess." He says, "Wish he'd let me help." Does this guy look like he lives in a place that allows him to help? No, so what? He has money though, right? He says, "We'll be okay." And he's like, "Okay." He says, if it starts to fall apart, you tell me. Don't tell your mom to tell me." And he's like, "You come here and you tell me." What's this? Crawling,
A spider.
spiders crawling out of the duffel bag. So now, who's the uncle?
Prowler.
The guy, the prowler, right? Again, this is something we know that Miles doesn't know. So that's what?
Wait, say that again?
We know something that Miles doesn't know.
Oh, they should get it.
Dramatic irony.
Um,
And he says, "She doesn't even like me coming here." So obviously the mom doesn't want,
Oh yeah, the dad and the brother like hate each other.
yeah, and so how does the mom feel,
The same.
right? So that tells you that maybe he's not the most stand-up character, right? All right, so then he's playing with something and there's a spider walking.
Oh, that's that red box.
Yeah, and he says, "What's this?" He goes, "Oh, hey, no, that is something else. That is something for work." "What is it?" "Don't worry about it. You thirsty?" So he gives him a popsicle and then he has the big old spider right here.
Joe, that spider is massive.
I know, I
It's the
don't know
size
how
of
he
his
doesn't
hand.
see it, but I can't. Okay, so then he sits down. So what do we predict's gonna happen?
He's gonna get bit.
He's gonna get bit, right? He's gonna get bit. So then it crawls on his head.
How do you not? Okay.
And he
You
looks,
arachnophobic?
yes, I am very much arachnophobic. You missed it. There was one day, there was a wolf spider in this room and oh my gosh.
She did.
That's a wolf.
I couldn't dip, it was guarding the door. I had to call,
He said it was guarded.
I had to call Mr.
It's safe, okay, so
Johnson.
you go stay.
But if they grow for a long time, they get
Yeah.
big.
I had to call Mr. Johnson to come and get it.
How
'cause
big was it?
It was big.
Oh, it was like a couple of years old.
Yes.
the first
So
time.
he sees the spider, right?
Probably because he got bit. That's how
His
big
eyes
it
are like,
was.
"Oh my God, what is this little?"
Some action happened. Oh, you know.
Yes.
He bit her.
So it bites him and he says, "Ah," and he throws it off, right?
What the?
And he says, "What the?" And when it has the dashes, remember that's something being interrupted. And then he crash, right?
Oh,
So
Yeah.
it bites
Imagine if
him and he's
someone
looking at his hand and then he falls over, right?
Yes.
He died.
Does he die?
Well,
I know the story.
I mean, yeah, he does it, but.
Well, now
oh my
that-
God,
Oh,
that's Spider.
Yeah,
Maybe. So he's foaming at the mouth.
And
Things are not
and
good.
the brother's like, hey, you want some water?
I know you're good, Chief.
He says, what the hell happened? What the hell? What, hey, what happened? What does it indicate when it's looking like this?
He's like
He's
fading
fading
He's
out.
fading out, right?
It's flatline.
This is not looking good. And then it goes black.
Isn't his mom a medic?
And he says,
No,
Miles,
she's
Miles.
Where's she
So the
at?
fact that there's black, yeah, what does that indicate?
He's also.
He knocked out, right? He
Man's dead.
completely faded out, but he can still hear, and now he can't even hear. It's just black. Okay?
Poor Miles.
Yeah.
That's what he get for trying to be friends with spiders.
So now he's opening his
I
eyes
don't think he wanted the spider.
and he says, oh, thank God. Are you okay? What happened? You fainted is what happened. I had to call yours
What?
He fainted.
father.
Oh. I think it's
Right.
face.
And that was a pretty significant faint, right? With stuff coming out of his mouth. And
He's probably.
the person in the door says, what the hell did you do? So what automatically does the dad assume?
That the brother did something.
The brother did something stupid, right? And that's what- and hurt his kid. And he says, are you okay? He says, yeah, Dad, what did he do to you? What? No, I got bit by like a spider. And he says, what did you give him?
Oh my
What?
God.
What did you give him? A popsicle? What the hell kind of guy do you think I am? I have no damn idea what kind of guy you are. So what does he think that the uncle did?
He gave him like.
Probably gave him some drugs or something, right? And so he's assuming, and that's his brother. And then Miles gets this look. What does this look indicate?
Exactly.
What does Miles's look indicate?
That he's got like, he's getting angry and
He's
got
getting
the,
angry and he says,
he's full of spider power.
he says, Dad, stop it. He's got all kind of spider testosterone going through
Yeah, when you
him.
get bit by a spider, your body just gets full of testosterone.
Yeah. And he says, what are you even doing over here, Miles? And he says, I'm sorry.
Drinks bangs.
And he says, I should call the police. He comes over to hang out every once in a while. I specifically told you to stay away from my family. You keep squeezing him this tight and he will slip through your fingers. I don't need life lessons from you. Well, obviously he thinks he does. He doesn't know you the way I know you. You're right. He knows me a whole lot better. And he says, you keep away from my son. And he says, or what? And he says, you keep away from that boy. I'm not going to have you screw him up like you do everything else. And then he says, I believe he just ran away. So
He just went, "Well,
what is the relationship between the dad and the brother?
That ain't sweet.
It ain't sweet at all, right? They have no brotherly love, right? And the dad thinks that he screws everything up, right?
Yeah.
That he's pretty much like a lowlife. But the dad is so blinded by his hatred for the brother that he what?
Forgets about his son.
He forgets about Miles. It's supposed to be about Miles,
Which is
right?
the whole point.
His
of
kid
the
literally just passed out on the carpet. And instead of being more concerned about that, he's more concerned than pointing out
He's
to the
like, no,
brother.
you're good.
Yeah. What do we think? How does the uncle feel about Miles?
Like
He's cool.
yeah.
Yeah. So then he says, Miles. And so then he's like, Miles, and he's looking around, right? There's all the people.
Probably like on the roof.
And then if there's a speech bubble that says, Dad, I'm right. Oh, no. What? Can you tell what's going on with him?
Oh, he went invisible.
Oh,
He went
yeah.
invisible.
Invisible.
Invisible. He's invisible.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Crazy.
I don't know about you, but if I was in middle school and I turned invisible, there might be a problem.
That spider was
He
on
might
some
know.
crazy.
And he says,
That
whoa.
spider was like,
Right.
It's weird.
Does it indicate if he has any control over it? No, right? Because the top part of him, you could see. The bottom part.
imagine
you
walking
can't.
Imagine
around
seeing
and
that in
see
New York.
half the
Right, right.
You're like,
Yo,
Can you
what did I
imagine
just
walking
eat?
by
Yo,
and
what did
like-
I eat?
Uh,
What's in my breakfast sandwich?
Yeah.
What is that bartender?
All right, and so that is the end.
No.
Volume 1.
That is too much disgusting.
We're
Never
gonna,
have an official ending. Afterwards.
we're
That was
gonna.
defining he was invisible. I know.
For the rest of his life, he
So
started
tomorrow we will move on to volume 2.
Are you sure about
Well,
that?
what do we know so far?
Miz is
He
crazy.
he has superpowers now.
He's coming.
He's even younger than the original, right? He's even younger than the original. We do know 2 villains already,
Yes.
right? But one's been
Octavius.
captured by Shield, right?
Yeah.
And then,
Was it Kingpin?
but did it say anything about what happened with Peter Parker?
No.
No.
No, so for what we know, there's still Spider-Man in this universe, right? So, so now, right now, there's gonna be 2, right? So, what are some predictions? How are they gonna balance that out?
Yeah, I wonder.
You can't answer.
What? I mean, I know.
How are they gonna
happens,
balance
but
out
I'm not
those
sure
two
this is
Spider-Man?
that version.
Okay, so what version do you know?
I mean, I know 2. I know one, I wanna say it, but I don't wanna ruin anything, but I know one basically. He gets like or not confidence, but he feels like he has to raise up to Spider-Man.
He feels, okay,
Expectations.
so he definitely feels like he has to raise up to Spider-Man's expectations. Well, how do you think that Marvel is gonna handle the fact that there is now 2 Spider-Mans?
One gotta go.
Dead.
Well,
One gotta
different
go. Wow, the
universe.
first
Or
one.
different
Different
universe, right?
universe.
One gotta
Because you
go.
can't just assume, right, with Marvel, you can't just assume that it's gonna take on the way the world is, right?
Yeah,
Because
that's Earth 6
in Marvel, especially in Spider-Man and X-Men, there are multiple universes, right? Your Doctor Stranges, your Wandas can make all these different. So I guess we'll find out what happens tomorrow.
Just gonna see I'm singing for most of it.
I know, always. But are you guys at least enjoying these?
I like the
Yeah,
comic
I
books.
love this.
I'm a comic.
Yeah.